Welcome to another edition of McCabe's Pub and Lounge Huddle Up here. We are actually at McCabe's Pub and Lounge downtown. Tanner Struckman here with you on a, Wednesday afternoon. We're recording this here. We've got Corey Anderson, news director and Game of the Week broadcaster from Husker Radio. Corey, how are you doing today?
Doing wonderful.
Got a little cloud cover right now.
We do.
But it's been a nice 80-degree week. We've got Nash with McCabe's Pub and Lounge. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you, too.
How are you doing today?
We're doing great.
Excellent. Let's talk a little bit of football here. We had a bye week for Nebraska football, which was, I don't know about you guys, but I get kind of down when there's no Husker game, although a little less stress on my Saturday.
I would agree with that. I don't even remember last Saturday, to be honest with you.
You can't lose when you don't play, and so we didn't have to worry about the Big Red having any problems with that. A bye week, probably a good time for a bye week, Corey, just to, regroup the troops after the first loss of the year.
I think it was, and I heard they had some pretty tough one-on-one practices in Lincoln last week, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the game this Saturday.
There's no doubt there's some positions that probably got worked out, or maybe certainly got attempted to be worked out. I don't know if they decided it, but
offensive line especially.
I think left tackle's one that's going to be to watch to see. Because they played 3 against Michigan. They've had 2 weeks of practice. Somebody had to come out of that. And maybe running back, the second running back. Bat Rules talked all week about, we'll see what happens if somebody different comes out of that running back spot and number 2 spot. And if there is a number 2, because right now there really hasn't been for Nebraska. Of course, they get ready for Michigan State. We'll get into that. We've got, let's revisit our picks from last week a little bit here. We'll get into that in a minute, actually. Let's talk a little. Let's just get into the Huskers, what they want. Michigan State this weekend, 3 o'clock for the Big Red, another home game. Michigan State comes in, I believe, 3-1. But you look at who they've beaten. It's not much. They haven't exactly looked that great so far. Nebraska, heavy favorites. It's on our picks, so we won't give a pick right now. But your guys' thoughts on this matchup?
Well, I would say that there's a lot of unknowns, and both teams had byes. Michigan State didn't play last weekend either. I don't know about their health. I don't know much about their club. I look at their scores. They're scoring a lot of points, but they're giving up a lot of points.
Right.
Too. Their loss to USC 2 weeks ago. Same
Which
weekend we played Michigan.
Doesn't look that bad. I think USC is maybe a little bit better than people thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year.
And I've heard they've given up a lot of passing yards, and Nebraska likes that. Although I'd like to see the Huskers keep working to establish more of a run game. They're going to need that down the line. They just can't sit back in there and expect Raiola to rescue them from a poor running game every week.
Right, yeah. That'll be a note. And Nationals looking at the forecast. Lincoln's 89 on Saturday. It's an afternoon game, so it's at the peak of heat. And like 20 to 30 mile-an-hour winds with 35-mile-an-hour gusts. I don't know how much that affects the passing game. Probably to a degree. You get up to that point, and it's affecting it a little bit.
Right. And I mean, personally, I'd like to see the run defense step up a little bit. I'd like to see it change, kind of establish I guess have some emphasis on it. That'd be nice to see, personally.
Nebraska, Michigan State on Saturday. That's at Memorial Stadium, the Big Red. Good place to watch the game, just saying. The Husker Hype Zone inside McCabe's. We were there for week 1. I don't know, feels like 4 or 5 weeks ago. Probably what it was when it was. We're over on the pool side right now, but the Husker Hype Zone's on the other side. That's a great place to watch the game.
Absolutely. And we got great food, plenty of booze, and, great time. So I'd love to see everybody out here.
And Husker volleyball plays that evening. I think it might overlap just a little bit. So I think they start at 6. But, I'm sure there'll be a TV on for both.
Absolutely. Everything will be covered.
McCabe's Pub and Lounge, they've got all your great food and drinks for the game on Saturday. The Big Red, again, get ready for Michigan State. All right, I got the picks open now. Corey, you gave us another 0-4 weekend.
What else can you say about that? I'm perfect.
There you go. Perfectly wrong, at least last week. Kanash and I both go 2-2. Ole Miss, you got Ole Miss there, and you took the Eagles. I took Kansas City and Oregon. Georgia let us all down. We all had Georgia defeating Alabama. So, overall, the weekly scores were hanging in there. I believe I didn't update the totals. I think, Corey, you're 7-13 now. So you dipped well under 500. I believe I'm now 11-9, and Nash holding on to a 1-game lead. He's 12-8, and so kind of holding on to that here, Nash, are you? And we'll get our picks coming up here in just a little bit. But let's circle back now to the high school side. We've got high school football coming up again. Of course, we're recording this on Wednesday. We do have a couple Thursday night games. Brady, Sandhill, Thedford. That'll be a Thursday night game. And Sutherland back in action. They host Hemmingford. You just had the Sailors last week. You've seen them a couple times already.
Yeah, and they just couldn't get anything going against Perkins County last week. Hemmingford's probably, by all accounts, what I've heard, the best team in that district. So it's, not. It's going to be tough. Let's put it that way for the Sailors this week, I think.
I'm curious to see how legit Hemmingford is. I know that they've not played the toughest schedule, but so far undefeated. Friday night football, of course, we get back to it again this Friday night. The Bulldogs of North Platte. I know Bulldogs, they fell to Columbus. That's a pretty darn good Columbus team, 42-6, but on the road. And this is kind of the next two, I think, national opportunities for the Bulldogs to get a win.
Absolutely. I think this week's a good week to turn it around. You know, I think we got a good shot, and I think if we come out and play a complete game, we got a really good shot to get a W this week.
They got to go to Omaha, but it's Benson, the Benson Bunnies, which is one of the more interesting. How do I say this kindly? Mascots, and it's tough to play football. I would think is the Bunnies. I don't know, but they do have 2 wins to their credit. But this has traditionally been one North Platte. They don't always play Benson, but it's a great opportunity for the Bulldogs to get on board, to get on the win column, and we might just be joined by some Bulldogs later on in weeks, huh?
Yeah. We're trying to get some of the guys out, and hopefully, maybe some other sports too along the way, and hopefully we can kind of incorporate them in this. I think that'd be a good idea.
I think it'd be great. So North Platte again goes to Omaha Benson. That is a 7 o'clock kickoff, I believe. They get a road trip to Benson. It's a long road trip, but that's a fun ride home if they can get the W. Here in town, St. Pat's has got a monster matchup. They've got probably one of the better matchups in Class D1. Zales Dundee County Stratton, who's a team that's undefeated. They come in a little banged up, but I'm guessing the Tigers will be ready to go. I think they're probably saving their guys for this matchup. That'll be a 7 o'clock kick. We'll have it on KODY with live video at HuskerRadio.com. And our game of the week, Corey, detail us in the 6-man ranks we go again.
Yeah, we've got Paxton traveling down to Wallace. They're big rivals, and of course Paxton's only 1-3. But I think anytime they get on the field or the court with Wallace, they will play their best. They'll lay it all out there. Wallace coming off their first loss of the season to a very good Southwest team.
Right.
So we'll see how they rebound from their first loss of the season. I think it's going to be a better game than most people would predict.
High scoring, do you anticipate? Usually 6-man can get up there.
I think it will be fairly high scoring. Yeah, if I had to predict, I would say, the one team, it'll probably be in the 40s. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
You ever taken in a 6-man game, Nash?
I have. My younger brother played at Paxton.
Sure.
So I've been seen a full season of it. So absolutely, it's a interesting coming from 11-man to 6. It's actually awesome if you're fairly athletic. I mean, it can be a fun deal. So
if you're slow and not very big like me, there's not many spots for a guy like me. But thankfully I played an 8-man, so they could hide me in the corner still. Other matchups: Hershey Panthers. I know you've seen Hershey at least once. They host Amherst, kind of a sneaky 11-man team right now. They're playing really good football.
Yeah, I'm not sure about their overall schedule as far as competition that they've seen will make the playoffs, but I think from what I saw, Hershey's certainly capable, and they racked up their highest point total by far against Valentine last week. I saw that. I was a little bit surprised by that, but they're capable. They've got a seasoned club for the most part. I think they can keep it going. Confidence is the biggest thing, obviously, when you're not used to winning a lot. So that hopefully will carry over for their offense.
Hershey again at home against Amherst. You got Maxwell hosting Mullen. Maywood Center hosts Cambridge, a really good Cambridge team. Medicine Valley at home against Southwest, and Sandhills Valley gets to West Holt in the 6- and 8-man ranks of high school football this Friday night. All right, you boys ready to get on to picks here for this week? We're going to stay in the college game completely. There wasn't really many good NFL matchups. It's not as good of a college slate as last weekend. Last weekend might have been the best we get all year.
Right. I would agree with that.
You talk about games, and when we had double overtime, we had just some insane finishes in college football. There's still some really good matchups, and this is a sneaky good one that I would anticipate to be. And I think Nebraska fans will be interested in this one because Cincinnati, of course, lost to Nebraska to open the year. They've rattled off 3 straight wins. Brennan Sorsby's looked like almost perfect throwing the ball, even though he was not very good against Nebraska. And they're now 3-1, hosting 14th ranked Iowa State, who's undefeated and favored. I think that goes to show it's amazing that since he's not ranked.
Yeah,
they're favored to beat a top 15 undefeated team, and they're not even ranked. I guess the home crowd for Cincy is what's going to be.
I was surprised to see that one. I mean, I would have to think that Iowa State would automatically be the favorite in that, but obviously these guys know something we don't.
They might know a few things. So all right, let's start with this one. We're picking a couple against the spread and a couple straight up because there's not enough good games just straight up against the spread to choose. But we'll start with this one, Corey. Iowa State, Cincinnati. What do you think?
Well, I kind of went back and forth on this, and I don't think anybody is going to go through the season unscathed. So, the Big 12 usually you get a lot of high-scoring games. I think this has the potential that both teams score 30+, but I see Iowa State winning.
All right. What do you got, Nash?
Man, I get really thrown off by Corey's record here. So I try to make up my own mind, but I would have to agree with you. I don't see Iowa State losing this game. I've seen them play a couple times, and I just, after seeing Cincinnati, I mean, I know they've been playing pretty good, but I just don't see how, in the 15th ranked. I mean, I think they deserve it. I don't think it's out of the ordinary that they're there. I don't know.
I'm going to go opposite of you guys just because I think, making Nebraska look better. I like that idea. And you know what? Maybe Nebraska, maybe that game ended up being, maybe that was a really, really good win for the Huskers, even if it was to the last second. So I'm going Cincinnati. All right, big one in the SEC. We're going to go against the spread because it's kind of an interesting spread considering Vanderbilt's not exactly been a powerhouse, but they're undefeated, 16th ranked. They're on the road in Alabama, and yet they are 10.5-point dogs. Now, it's on the road. Alabama's got a loss, but they did just beat Georgia. I understand that, but Vandy's played well so far. Corey, Vandy, Alabama against the spread, 10.5-point favorites for Alabama.
Well, coming off that win at Georgia, obviously that was a very good win for Bama. I think Vanderbilt upset them last year. Was that last year that they upset them?
It's been in the last 2 years, yeah. Which is a rare. I mean, that's a big upset for Vandy.
I don't know if that'll play into this one. Probably most of the players, a lot of them graduated. I think normally I would say Bama's ripe to be upset. Vanderbilt's got a very good quarterback. Looked at his stats, and he can dent their defense a little bit, but Alabama just really impressed me in a hostile atmosphere last week. So I can't go against Bama, especially in Tuscaloosa.
All right, Nash.
I think Bama comes out on top, but I don't believe that they cover the spread.
Okay.
So I'll have to go with Vanderbilt on that, and I think they're going to keep it tight. I think they got some momentum, and definitely with that upset. Was that last year, that upset?
That's
or was it the year before?
It's in the last 2 years.
Right, but I think there's enough guys there. They got some faith. I think
10.5-point favorites. That's the hard thing to consider on this one. I think I'm going with Vandy because I don't know that I'm with you. I don't think they beat them. I think Alabama's figuring it out though under Kalen DeBoer. I think they're starting to figure this out. This Bama thing again. They're trying. I'm not saying they're back to Saban mentality yet, but I think they're getting closer. And I'm gonna choose a Vanderbilt on this one as well to at least cover the spread there against Alabama. Game number 3 here in this Week 6 pick'em. We got. Well, let's go. Let's skip ahead to the last one, and then we'll circle back to the big game that we're interested in. Miami at Florida State straight up. Miami's been, so far perfect 4-0, third ranked. They're on the road to Florida State. I don't know how much I believe in Florida State. Miami's 4.5-point favorites, but it's on the road. Obviously, a rivalry game there in Florida.
I think I'm going with Florida State.
Man.
Something tells me that they're back on the way up. and their off year was just that. And I think this will stamp Florida State as being again a legitimate playoff contender. So I think really they'll play well. I think they'll get the job done, and we'll see.
That's Florida State at home, right?
That is.
It is.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying, I think I'm going to have to agree with Corey on this. I think Florida State comes out and they're going to be ready to go. I like their quarterback. I believe, if I remember correctly, he came off of some kind of an injury last year, and now he's really came out to play. If I'm thinking of the same guy, but
I'm going to go with Miami on this because Nebraska kind of got robbed by Florida State in the offseason, and I just don't find my way into rooting for anybody that does that. And so even though Nebraska's done that to other teams, and I think Miami's for real. I really do. I think Miami gets this win. That'll be a fun atmosphere, though. 6:30 night game at Florida State. You can, harken back to the Brent Musburger days when he was calling games at FSU and maybe made a comment or two about some white ladies in the stands. That's for a different day. I think we all remember that one. Let's go to the big game, Michigan State, Nebraska. Huskers here. We're going to go against the spread because Nebraska's up to 11.5-point favorites, gentlemen. This seems high to me, but what do you think, Corey, against the spread, Nebraska, Michigan State?
I just went with my first take on it, and especially after you told me that Michigan State's been poor in pass defense. I think the Huskers figured some stuff out. At least I'm crossing my fingers that the offensive line's going to be, a little tighter, and I'm sure Michigan State will try to exploit, do some of the same things Michigan did too. I just don't think they have quite the guys up front that Michigan had too. I think Nebraska will do better, establish more of a run game, and I think Raiola will have his way against the Michigan State backers in secondary.
All right.
So they'll cover.
Okay.
I'd say they're going to cover too. I just believe Matt Rule's, somebody's going to, make some change week to week, and I believe in him. I think he's our guy, and if he is, then that's what he's going to go out there and do.
All right. So I know Michigan State's defense. For what it's worth, I'm going to take Nebraska as well because I think this is an opportunity to really bounce back. If we beat Michigan, I think this is a little tougher trap game to at least cover the spread. But the fact that Nebraska lost, I think they're locked in the last 2 weeks. But a little quick side note here: Michigan State's pass defense not good. Not good. Very, very poor. That being said, 30, 35 mile an hour gusts. I don't know how much that impacts the game. If Dylan Raiola, though, gets to 300 no picks, that Heisman talk becomes, okay, this is kind of, it's to something you almost have to consider it at this point. I'm not saying I believe that's going to be at the end of the year. I don't know because we've not seen enough strong competition, but so far he has played really well.
All right. I think that's tough to say. I'm not going to say he can't, but I think as long as we keep winning and looking good and looking, like we could be a playoff team, I think he could stay in the running as long as he, keeps it together for sure.
That's kind of crazy to think, but I love it. 3 o'clock, you can watch the game right here at McCabe's Pub and Lounge at the Husker Hype Zone. Maybe play some pool. Come on down. There's plenty of drinks and food to go around on Saturday. Husker volleyball plays that night, and of course football Friday night when it comes to the high school game. And if there's a game you want on, tell some of the friendly staff here.
Yeah, absolutely. We can hook you up with whatever you need. St. Pat's, North Platte, any of the surrounding towns, as long as they're streaming, we can get it.
Very good. Pretty much everybody's streaming at this point. Corey, Nash, thank you for joining us. It is Huddle Up with McCabe's Pub and Lounge. Enjoy the football, folks, and you guys have a great weekend, all right?
Thanks, Dan.